We're here today with our model Londi. Hi Londi. Londi is having a hair colour today, but before we get started, what I'd like to do is just fade her sides out a little bit. So I'm just going to show you guys how I do that. So we're going to start in here in the temple area. I'm just going to work it down into quite a low fade in the back. The reason being is we want to have as much length as we can, so we can exploit the ends for when we apply the colour. So not a big change in terms of the amount of hair we're cutting off, but it's going to be a big change for a face, because you can see here just by pulling these sides in a little bit, we're going to be able to accentuate her cheekbones, and I think that's going to work better in terms of a shape to complement the colour. Absolutely incredible hair, beautiful. So you can see I'm working that shape right from the side all the way down to the back. On the second glance, I need to take that just a bit higher. Always like to work my shape to the back, and we'll end up with a nice point there. Spin Londi back to the front. Just want to check balance in there. Pretty close. So you can see that I'm using graduation. And I say this a lot, whether the hair is a centimetre long or a metre long, the way we approach cutting it should be exactly the same, because ultimately the only thing that changes is the length. So I'm doing the same graduation as what I would if I could hold it between my fingers. It's just that the hair's too short, so I'm using the comb. But you can see that there's absolutely graduation on the hair, because the angle is above 0 degrees. It's around about 25, 30 degrees. I'm just going to work that back into a really nice point in the back. A lot of the hairline stuff that I do is freehand. See, that comes right through to the back. Spin you around. So what I'm looking for when I'm checking balance is to make sure that an advantage I have is going first is that I'm using the contrast in the colour to make sure we're balanced on both sides. I just have to bring this side up just a little bit more. Now that I've cut my shape in through the sides and the back, you can just see that there's just a tiny line there, almost like a disconnection. On this particular type of hair, what you don't want to do is comb it too much. I'll show you why. This is what's going to happen. See, it starts to spring out. And what happens is when we do that, if we go back and cut, we're going to create a hole there, because obviously when the hair sucks back to its natural fall, you're going to end up with it coming out in and out, and we don't want that to happen. So it's really important you try not to manipulate the hair too much. We had a conversation about that, didn't we? So I'm just going to roll the last little bit out. You guys probably noticed the whole time that I haven't used a guard, which has been all just using my thumb to adjust. And using, similarly to a colorist who uses a sight to identify fluctuations in tone, that's how I actually cut hair. So you can see that it starts to go lighter, darker, darker, and then we go really dark into the blonde. So you're just sort of working that density, and as the color starts to change, that's how I guide whether the length is right or not. Looks really good. Much better. We've lightened Blondie's regrowth, and now we're going to colour hair using SoColor Cult Flamenco Fuchsia. I'm going to start in the top, and I'm going to allow this to process a little bit ahead of time, and then we're going to take it down through to the ends. When working with hair like Blondie's, it's good to be conscious about how much colour we use, but at the same time, this type of hair requires phenomenal amounts of saturation. So you try and be quite liberal with your application and almost like pat it on rather than trying to spread it out too much. Otherwise, what we'll find is in some areas, the colour will take and grab really, really well, and in others it could appear to be on the same amount, but it can turn out to be a little bit opaque. We want it to be quite consistent throughout. It's amazing texture. Feel nice and cold, Blondie? We lightened Blondie's hair first time with caution. We used Light Master and 10 Vol using Bond Ultim8. We were hoping that we could get it just light enough to avoid damaging these ends. Unfortunately, we did go back later on and do a second application. My philosophy on that is prevention's better than cure. So although we did have to go back, and it may seem sort of not in the best interest of time to do a second application at low volume, but I guess ultimately it's about protecting the condition of the hair and making sure that we don't over-process it unnecessarily. So just coming through here, you can see where I faded the hair there. I'm now going to brush up, and I'm going to leave that out. I'm going to come back and do that last. You can just see how much it soaks it up. It's really important. As I've already said, but I have to reiterate, you need to saturate this a lot. Could you spin yourself around? I just don't want to soil your cape perfect. Thanks, darling. So you can see I'm brushing upwards of where I faded the hair. There is a little bit of a disconnection in there, which I think is kind of cool. I think it works with curly texture. And this is the most incredible curly hair I think I've ever seen. What did we say it looked like? Quinoa.
Quinoa, yeah.
Yeah, we said it looked like quinoa. It's amazing. Just back towards the mirror for me, gorgeous. Thank you. So I'm just checking for balance. Like I said, I want to make sure that this underneath part here is left out until last. The idea with Londy's look is the top is brighter and we gently fade out to more pastel, or I guess a little less gentle into the ends, or into the exterior I should say, not the ends. That's looking good. So now what I'm going to start to do is actually just to massage it down into the ends with my hands. There's lots of colour here. You might enjoy this Londi. A little bit of a scalp massage, not really. Spin back around for me, gorgeous. All the way. Yep. How's your scalp feeling? You want to get to sleep now?
Very cool.
Always clean as you go. So we're going to leave Londi for around about 10 minutes. The processing time for me with this particular look is going to be visual, so I'll come back in 10 minutes time. We'll just pull it away, we'll see how it's looking. If we feel it needs to come off, we'll take it off. But I think it's going to be around about 10 minutes. Well, what a big day it's been, introducing the new Londi. Thanks for tuning in, take care. Make sure you go to the Matrix YouTube channel, hit the notification and subscribe button so you get up to date on every single video they post. And until next time, see you guys, take care.